Once upon a time, there lived a man named Papanna. He was very selfish businessman who did not give anything to anybody. He was so stingy that his own wife left him after marrying him in 3 days. He never kept any servants and he always did all works in his house by himself. One fine day, he realized that his neighbors had a huge festival in their house and he did not cook anything in his house, hoping that neighbors would share something with him. So he sat outside of the house waiting and hoping that one of his neighbors would watch him and share him the food. And that moment beggar came to him and said this.
Sir, I am very hungry. Please give me some food.
After looking at the beggar, Papanna gets a despicable idea.
Where are you from? Which village do you belong to? I've never seen you here before.
After listening to what he said, beggar replies,
Sir, I am a beggar who travels all around the villages in this kingdom begging for food. This is the first time I visited this village and I am very hungry. I beg you to give me some food.
Why do you worry about food? Don't worry about that. I shall give you a lot of food. Come sit here right next to me.
Papanna shows place for beggar to sit down. After listening to what Papanna said, the beggar hesitantly sits right next to Papanna. He is quite nervous, but Papanna looks at him and says this.
You told me that you had entered this village today. May I know where you are staying in this village?
Sir, I am currently staying right next to the tree that is there behind that house. I sleep under the tree beneath.
That is so sad. I am pretty sure there are a lot of mosquitoes and cold wind there. I wonder how can you sleep at that place? Let me give you a suggestion. I live here alone all by myself. You can stay at my house as long as you want to stay in this village. There will be no trouble whatsoever when you stay at my house.
Sir, you are like a god to me. It is because of good men like you that there are rains once in a while in our world. I thank you so much for what you are offering me, and I am privileged to be in your presence.
After listening to what beggar said, Papanna replies,
I don't like it when people compliment me like this. But don't worry, you told me that you were hungry, am I right?
Yes, sir. I am very hungry. Please give me some food if you have.
Unfortunately, I haven't cooked anything in my house because I am feeling very sick today. But luckily, there are my neighbors who are right beside me and they have a very big festival in their house. If you go there, you can get a lot of food along with lot of sweets and desserts.
Oh, that is so great. But may I know what exactly is the festival for and why are they celebrating it?
Last year, there was an old lady that died in their house and they are celebrating the death anniversary of that particular lady. They have not invited me or anyone else. That is the festival they are celebrating right now.
After listening what Papanna said, beggar replies.
Do you feel sad that they haven't invited you for this festival, sir?
Papanna becomes upset after listening to what beggar said.
Are you crazy? Do you really think I am waiting for their food? I just had a lot of affection and respect for the old lady. That is why I thought eating about in their house.
Is that so? I thought you were only affectionate towards people who are living, even for people who are dead.
Just forget about what I said first. Go to that house and eat what you want, or else there will be nothing left for you.
After listening to what Papanna said, beggar immediately got up and walked towards the neighbor's house. At that moment, Papanna stopped the beggar.
How can you able to collect the food with such a small bowl? Wait a minute, let me bring a bigger bowl for you.
After saying this, Papanna goes inside his house and hand over a huge bowl to the beggar. The beggar is shocked to see such a huge bowl. Beggar then takes a bowl and collects a lot of food, curry and desserts from the festival house, and when he brought it back and handed it over Papanna, Papanna took everything from the bowl and only little amount of food was given to beggar. Papanna then looked at the beggar and said this.
That is all for you. You can take all of it.
The beggar was shocked to see the way Papanna behaved. He then looked at the little amount of food that he had and he said this to him.
Sir, how am I supposed to eat all this amount of food? And who will eat the little amount of food that you have?
Didn't I tell you that I haven't cooked anything for myself? That is the reason why I will be eating this.
Papanna took the food that he got from the beggar and went back into his house. At that moment, beggar was upset and said this.
This man is such a shameless individual. He is more cursed than I am. I am already a beggar and you have stolen the food from my own plate that I begged for. And you are giving me the little food that you wanted to spare. Men like you in this world are tragedy.
The beggar started to eat the food that he has given. Days went by. the same routine started to follow. Beggar would beg something from the village and Papanna would eat something from his own food. As this continued, every single person in the village knew about Papanna and what he is doing to this beggar. After a few weeks, there was a huge drought and several diseases for people in the village. People that were poor and needy did not have enough money or food to survive. At that moment, a person decided to go around the village and collect the food from people who are rich so that they can distribute it to the poor people. Then Papanna said this.
What I have is something that I earned through my hard work and determination. If people don't have money, that is their fault and that is their destiny. Is it my fault that these people are poor? Is it my fault that the sky hasn't rained in several days? If you want to give something to the poor and needy, you should do it. Please don't come and ask me to give anything. I cannot help anymore.
Papanna furiously said those words to those people who tried to collect some food for needy people. At that moment, those men looked at each other and said this.
This man has a beggar in his house that goes and begs for food, and he takes the food that this beggar begs for. Then how can we expect any donation from a man like this?
Those men immediately left the house after yelling at Papanna. After a few weeks, a saint entered the village and he started living in the temple of the village. Every single day, he would meet the common people and tell them stories and tales of gods, and he would answer their questions if they have any doubt. The saint would only eat few bananas and milk each and every day. Anytime he was offered anything more than banana and milk, the saint would say this to them.
I do not need this, my friends. For my stomach, just bananas are enough. Because you feel like giving this to me, I suggest you give all these fruits to people that are poor and needy.
The saint started gaining lot of respect from the people in the village. Everybody started offering a lot of gifts to the saint, but all he would do is to touch them and tell them to take it back. A man who was a clothing expert created a silk outfit for the saint, but the saint touched it and told them to take it back. Another man brought lot of jewelry for saint. The saint, as usual, said, "Please take it back," but he touched it and he told them to take it back. The beggar also started to know about this new saint in that village. One day, when beggar was sitting outside the house, Papanna said this to him.
So what is new in our village? Is there anything interesting happening?
Aren't you the man that knows what is happening in whose house and who is having a festival? You should know more about these details than I do.
Papanna understands the sarcastic reply that the beggar gave. Papanna replies to him like this.
Aren't you the man that goes around the houses in the village begging for food? And how dare you talk to me in such a disrespectful tone? You should know more about what is happening in other people's house than I do. You are the beggar in this house, not me.
After listening to what Papanna said, the beggar gets absolutely frustrated. He thinks to himself, "You are the one who is stealing the food that I begged for."
Yes, I realize that is my fate, to be a beggar for the rest of my life. It is unfortunate, but it is the truth. By the way, have you heard that there is a new saint in our village? That is a very helpful person for everybody. Anybody that goes to him, he is able to solve their issues immediately.
I have seen thousands of these saints. They wear a saffron outfit and they put religious symbol on their head and they start believing that they are gods. Everybody in this village is a sheep and they just blindly follow everything without thinking. Everybody who believes in God, men and saints, are absolutely idiotic individuals because the saints use them for money.
After listening to what Papanna said, the beggar replies,
The saint that I am referring to isn't like that. He does not accept any money or gifts from the people. In fact, no matter what gifts is given to him, all he does is to touch it and he tells them to take it back. He is truly a very religious and honorable saint.
The beggar explains everything to Papanna. Papanna becomes very surprised and he says this to beggar.
Are you serious? Are you trying to tell me that he does not get anything from the people whatsoever?
Yes, sir. What I am telling you is 100% true. If you do not believe me, let us both go and see him and you can verify it yourself.
After listening to what beggar said, even Papanna was interested to see the saint. Papanna goes to temple to see the saint by his own eyes. He stands at the corner to witness what is happening. He sees a rich man who is giving lot of jewelry in the bag, but the saint refuses to accept it. And he puts some holy water from a jug on the gift and he tells him to take it back.
I appreciate the love that you are giving me, but I do not need these gifts. I request you to kindly take them back to yourself.
After a while, Papanna sees several other men bringing lot of gifts for the saint. At that time, saint is rejecting all the gifts which is offered to him. He is telling them to take it back. Papanna is surprised to see all those things. At that time, beggar came by Papanna's side. He said this to Papanna.
At least do you believe me now? I told you that this saint is not like the other saints. He does not take other people's money or gifts.
You are absolutely right. What you said was true. He definitely is not a thief that is stealing from people.
But let me ask you a question. He is the saint. What business do you have towards him? You are the kind of man who wouldn't help anyone in your life.
After listening to the insult which beggar gave him, Papanna says this.
Are you trying to insult me again? You are living in my house and you are trying to disrespect me with your words?
Sir, you have mistaken me. I am not saying things that are from my own mouth. I am saying things that the entire village is speaking. That you are the most selfish and stingy person in the entire village, and there is no one more narcissist like you. You are so selfish that your own wife left you after few days of marriage. And then when you found me begging in the streets, you started taking food from me. This is what the entire village is speaking about.
Papanna becomes very upset and he leaves the place and goes back to the house. At that moment, Papanna got a very despicable idea where he realized that he needs to get a good name from all the villagers in the town. So he decided to go to Saint and offer him several gifts, knowing that Saint will definitely return him. So he made up a plan where he purchased several jewels, clothing, food, fruits and vegetables for the saint. He wants to prove to the villagers as well. He was very happy that Saint will not accept these gifts. He thought he can get back the gifts home. As he put all these gifts in a bullock cart, so he loaded the gifts in the bullock cart such as jewels, fruits, clothes, vegetables, silver and gold coins in a box. He was ready to go and meet the saint. The beggar was very shocked to see Papanna like this. He asked Papanna like this.
Sir, is this real? Or are my eyes lying to me? Are you really going to give away all this to the saint and get his blessings?
I'm going to prove to the entire village that I'm not selfish and a stingy person. I just do not spend money for no reason. I'm going to prove to you and to the entire village that I am a man who has goodwill and I would like to help saints when I see them.
Papanna then rides the bullock cart towards the temple and he sees the saint. He then gave respect to the saint and said this.
Dear saint, it is always a blessing to see a man like you in real life. I have been blessed and privileged and honored to have you in my presence. And I would like to offer you a lot of gifts so that I can completely heal my soul and prove to you and to the villagers.
After listening to what Papanna said, the saint thought of himself for a while and said this.
Usually, I hate accepting gifts from anybody. But when I see a true believer like yourself, it would be a sin to not accept gifts from you. And I am pretty sure that you would be disappointed. If I do not accept the gifts that you give, I shall gratefully accept your gifts.
He then gives Papanna a holy object. Then Saint said this.
Use this object every single day and put it on your head and eat it once in a day. This will give you a lot of blessings and good luck. Always remember to pray to me whenever you get the time. Om Namah Shivaya. Now I suggest you can leave right now.
After listening to what Saint said, Papanna almost has a heart attack. He could not believe his own eyes. He understood that there is no way he can get out of the situation because every single villager in that town is watching him. He cannot cry in front of them, neither can he take away all the gifts that he brought. This is because the beggar had already informed Saint about the mindset of Papanna. Then Saint looks at all the villagers and says this.
My friends, what are you waiting for? Please go and take away all the gifts that our true follower has brought for us and provided to the poor and needy in this village.
Everybody in the village started taking out the gifts that Papanna brought and they started placing it on the temple. Papanna becomes very heartbroken and he goes back to home. He sleeps in the bed thinking about what had occurred today. Meanwhile, the beggars started distributing all the gifts that Papanna brought to the saint to poor and needy people of the village.
If you like this story, do like it, share it. For more new stories, please subscribe our New Stories Book English YouTube channel.